All right, when you're staring at an exam question, every single decision counts. So how do you pick the absolute best option when, they all seem pretty good? Well, today we're breaking down a super powerful framework that turns all that subjective guesswork into an objective, high-scoring answer. Let's dive in. You've seen this problem 1,000 times, right? It's a classic. You're faced with a few different options, and each one's got its upsides and its downsides. Just going with your gut feel? That's a huge gamble, especially when there are marks on the line. So, how do you make a choice that's not just a guess, but one you can actually defend? Here's our game plan for mastering this. First, we'll talk about why just going with your gut is a terrible idea. Then, we'll introduce the weighted scoring model itself. We'll break down the 6-step blueprint you absolutely need to know, apply it to a real-world scenario, and wrap it all up with the single most important takeaway you need for your exam. Look, in an exam setting, you can't just write down, I chose option B because it felt right. You need a structured, logical process to justify your choice. If you don't have one, you are just leaving points on the table. It's as simple as that. Okay, so here is the official textbook definition. And you'll want to pay close attention to these key words because they're gold for exam answers. First, it's quantitative. That just means it's all about numbers, not feelings. Second, it's objective because it's designed to strip out personal bias. And third, it's a tool for multi-criteria decision-making, which is just a fancy way of saying it helps you decide when you're juggling a bunch of different factors at once. So let's really dig into why this tool is so incredibly effective for turning those messy, tough choices into really clear, confident decisions. And this right here is where the magic happens. The model literally takes your preferences, what you say is important, and translates them into cold, hard data. It's perfect for balancing those conflicting goals, like wanting something cheap but also high quality. The whole process is fair, it's totally transparent, and it makes sure your final choice actually lines up with what you said mattered most from the start. Okay, now for the really practical part. How do you actually build one of these things? Well, it's a super straightforward 6-step blueprint. And I promise you, if you can remember these 6 steps, you can tackle any question on this topic they throw at you. It's really this simple. 1, you figure out what actually matters. 2, you decide how much each of those things matters. 3, you score your different options. 4 and 5, you do a little bit of simple math. And then 6, you make your call based on the numbers. That's it. Whoa, okay, stop for a second. Pay attention to step 2. This is a classic exam trap. When you're assigning those weights to your criteria, they absolutely must add up to 100%, or 1.0 if you're using decimals. If you get this wrong, your entire model, all your hard work is completely invalid. Don't fall for it. And the math in step 4? Don't worry, it's super easy. For every single criterion, you just multiply the score you gave it by the weight you assigned to it. And boom, that's your weighted score for that one item. Okay, theory is great, but let's see how this whole thing works in the real world with a solid example. So, imagine we need to pick a new software vendor. We've narrowed it down to 2 companies, Cloudsoft and Datasolv. So, first things first, we identify our criteria and assign weights. In this case, you can see cost is our biggest priority. We've given it a 40% weight. Technical fit is next at 30%, support and timeline are important but less so, and of course, what do they all add up to? A perfect 100%. Next up, we score each vendor, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, for each of our criteria. Higher score is better. And you can see the dilemma immediately, right? Neither one is perfect. Cloudsoft is better on the tech and support side, but Datasoft is cheaper and faster. This is exactly the kind of tough call this model is built for. So let's just walk through one of these calculations so it's crystal clear. We take Cloudsoft's raw score for cost, which is a 7, and we multiply it by the weight for cost, which is 40% or 0.4. That gives us a weighted score of 2.8. We just do that for every single box in the table to get all the weighted scores. So after we run all the numbers for Cloudsoft and add up all their weighted scores, we land on a final total of 7.8, a pretty solid score. But the question is, how does Datasolv stack up? We do the exact same math for Datasolv, and their total score is, you guessed it, also 7.8, a perfect tie. Now, this is the kind of curveball an exam question would love to throw at you. So what on earth do you do now? So what gives? Did our model fail? Did we do all that work for nothing? No, absolutely not. A tie doesn't mean the framework is broken.
It actually means it's time to move into a deeper phase of analysis. The numbers have done their job, and now we use them to guide our final judgment.
Yeah, this is a fantastic exam style question. If the scores are identical, what is your next step? And the answer is definitely not flip a coin. The model is giving you something so much more valuable than just a single winning number.
It's given you clarity. The model lays out the trade-offs in black and white. Do you go with CloudSoft because you care more about a better technical solution and great support? Or do you pick DataSolve because a lower cost and a faster timeline are what really matter right now? The discussion is no longer about which one is vaguely better. It's about which specific set of strengths best aligns with your strategic goals.
And this brings us right to the most critical takeaway of this entire explainer, the real philosophy, the true value behind the weighted scoring model. Burn this quote into your memory. The model's real power isn't about spitting out an automatic final answer every time. Its power is in creating a transparent, logical framework that forces you to define what you care about and then evaluate your options against that standard consistently. It structures the entire decision-making conversation. So if you only remember one thing for your exam, make it this. The process is the point. The value isn't just in the final score, it's in the discipline of identifying your criteria, weighting them, and scoring your options. That process guarantees that your final decision, even if you're breaking a tie, is transparent, defensible, and rooted in data. And that's the weighted scoring model. It is so much more than a formula. It's a structured way of thinking. So, my final question is for you. Where else could you apply this? Choosing which project to work on? Evaluating different job offers? The applications are seriously endless. Use this to bring some objective clarity to your next big decision. Thanks so much for tuning in.